Just like we said at the very beginning of the year, we say that community tokens will play a major role in this industry. And here we are midway through the year, and we see that mainly, besides of course the spot Bitcoin ETF euphoria, the main activities on the blockchains have literally been meme coins, right? Community tokens. So we understand that even though they're still a small niche, they have the most impact though on the entire industry. We saw that how they're dominating blockchains. And the way we see that is by bringing so much attention, bringing a lot of awareness, bringing a lot of liquidity to these blockchains that would otherwise be dormant. And we also saw how many blockchains are literally putting aside foundations and funds to sponsor community tokens, right? So those that want to develop some on those specific blockchains, of course, once they meet certain criteria, certain requirements, and they're eligible for that, then they will be even funded, privately by these blockchains. So this just underscores how and what type of an impact that community tokens have. And it's not just the tokens themselves, we need to highlight this, but it is the retailers behind these community tokens, right? And the best example that we've seen so far also is we touched a little bit on this last community event, is this individual that was playing a major role back in 2021 as far as in the stock market, Roaring Kitty. He finally, a few days ago, he did his first live stream. We saw how over 600,000 individuals were just live watching the live stream. And within a few minutes, actually within a few hours, there was over 2 million views on that. So it just shows you that an individual can have so much impact, and a community, retailers, can have so much impact that they're literally putting a lot of fear into Wall Street. Well, Steve, that's easy to say. How did they put fear to Wall Street? Well, the GameStop stock, during that whole live stream, and that live stream was 50 minutes, but during that period, they halted trading 7 times. So that just shows you what type of an impact a community can have. And this is the stage I would like to set, that once a community comes together, once a community decides that they want to rally behind a cause, behind a vision, behind a goal, they can achieve so many things, unbelievable things, and nothing can stop them. And this is what we experienced. And there's movies out there now, documentaries, all sorts of things based on GameStop. And we've also discussed this many times within the community. And we all understand that community tokens and communities play a major role, specifically in the crypto space, because they are the ones that really dictate where the industry is going, where the liquidity is heading, where the attention is being brought to. So that's just to set the tone of where we will be heading towards during this session today. So let's verify what we just said. Let's see how true that is, right? And let's use 4 criteria. I'd like us to use 4 criteria for that. So the first criteria I would like us to look at and to just dig in deeper into this assumption that community tokens are the real deal and they're the future. Once you have communities that are well organized, that are well structured, that have the right mindset, you can achieve a lot of things. So we understand that community tokens backed by retailers, community members, on a right platform, that combination can literally make the difference and will literally make the difference. Now that we understand that community members and communities are very important, so how do we go about picking the right ones? There's so many. Like we saw beginning of April, there were like 1 million new cryptocurrencies that were deployed on various blockchains, and majority of them were meme coins. So there's too many choices. There's like an oversaturation of new cryptocurrencies. So how do we go about picking the right ones? These are the 4 criteria we can use to do just that. So the first one is attention. The second one is incentive. The third one is community. And to really hold these 3 together, the 4th one is sustainability. So again, attention, incentive, community, sustainability. Those are the 4 criteria. And this will make it so easy for us to really pick the right communities based on these 4 criteria. So let's zoom out and let's look at the entire industry based on those 4 criteria first. To To just paint a picture before you really dive into it, let's understand that there are different sorts of community tokens. Let's just briefly touch on those. So there are so-called governance tokens. Governance tokens are mainly used to, like the name suggests, to be able to vote, to govern. So you have a right. For example, Uniswap has that, Aave has that, even Ethereum has that as well. Your token gives you the right. So meaning the more tokens you have, the more votes you have to help direct the fate of the ecosystem. So you can vote with your tokens. So based on the amount of your tokens, the more say you have. And then there's something called utility tokens. Usually there's a mixture of both governance and utility tokens. But now let's just look at them separately. So utility tokens is like the name suggests, you literally have a utility. You have a use case. And utility tokens, for example, also is Aave. Its utility is a lending platform. And we can look at Uniswap. It's a utility token. Its utility is, it's an exchange, right? You can trade tokens. And then another one can be, for example, Curve. Its utility is also it's like you can provide liquidity and earn fees. It's like a staking platform, similar to a staking platform that we have as well. So you see that we can go on and on. Just wanted to make an example of what sorts of utility tokens that they're out there that we are very familiar with. So now we looked at governance tokens with voting, utility tokens with a real use case like real utilities, lending platform, exchange. And then of course there is meme coins. That's just based on hype, attention. And it's really not doing anything. You can't vote with a token. It doesn't have like a utility that you can use the tokens for and be incentivized with. It's literally just a token with a meme behind it, and you can rally behind it as a community, and that's literally it. And the best example and the largest one, of course, is Dogecoin. It literally has no purpose at all. Literally was made to poke fun on cryptocurrencies, actually. You literally see a smiling dog. That's basically it. Of course, on Ethereum, the largest one is Shiba, and then we can go down the list, right? There's all sorts of different meme coins, and they can represent anything. They literally represent the culture. Whatever culture you want to represent, whatever meme, whatever celebrity, you name it. And usually, be it governance tokens, utility tokens, meme coins, these are the different types of tokens that are out there. So, of course, based on these three, we'll make examples. Let's start with the governance tokens. So if we look at governance tokens and we start with attention, how do we determine attention? Attention through a governance token literally just gives you the opportunity to vote. There is no excitement behind it. And usually governance tokens really don't do much because not many people vote anyway. So it's been a flop so far, and there still needs a lot of development in that area to really excite individuals to vote for, because right now there are not really many use cases or incentives behind voting. So governance tokens are literally the bottom of the bottom. You can just vote with it. If you look at attention, it's really not much. It's not much excitement. If we look at incentive, the incentive you have is, yes, you can vote, you can voice your case, you can bring in recommendations, you can add value to the ecosystem, you can say something that you want to see changes on, or whatever the case may be. And then if we look at community, obviously that plays a major role. The larger the community, usually imagine having such a large community with a governance token. So you have a million members and everybody wants to do something different. It can be really chaotic. So governance is still something that is in the early stages. We still haven't really figured out the best way to use that aspect of governance. Governance was created to really bring in more democracy, to decentralize the process of how the ecosystem moves forward. But oftentimes there's just too many people, and if you have too many cooks, you might spoil the meal, right? And then, of course, if we look at the sustainability part of a governance token, how sustainable is a governance token? It's just based on whoever is the whale, or the whales usually make the decisions. So whales can come together and vote for something and pass it through or deny it, whatever the case may be, based on the amount of their tokens. So that's governance for us. Let's go to utility tokens, right? At the beginning, people are really crazy about utilities, and utilities are needed in the crypto space. Let's just name it, because the whole idea, especially when Ethereum came out as a smart contract blockchain, it's very important for us to have utilities, because if we aim to bring the masses on chain and to change how the traditional financial system is working and bring it on chain, on the blockchain, we need to make changes, right? We need to offer this similar applications, similar services on chain, be it, like we said, exchanges, oracles, lending and borrowing, staking, and so on and so forth. So these are utility tokens, and let's judge them based on these 4 criteria. So if we look at attention, utility tokens, of course, the attention is okay. Usually with these utility tokens, especially when they come in very early, they usually entice individuals with their utility, of course, like for example, exchanges or lending platforms. So that's a wow factor, right? So it brings attention. So you have attention for a certain amount, and that goes hand in hand with the incentive. So usually these utility tokens often have staking as well. And the staking platform, usually at the early stages, to entice users, they have very high rewards, staking rewards. So this really entices so many early users on their platform. And then when we go to community, really quickly, often you see communities forming very quickly. You can't really nail down if these communities have the best intentions, because they're just here for the high rewards, the high staking distributions, and then some are there literally for the utility, some are there just to farm, to just get their staking distributions. If we look at the final one, the sustainability part of it, that's where utility tokens literally start scrambling now, because like we said, utility tokens entice individuals with high staking rewards and with a utility. And eventually, of course, that means that they had put aside a certain amount of tokens for staking rewards. Where utility tokens really mess up is by adding inflation. They don't have a sustainable incentive. The incentive is great at the early stages for those that got in early, and then they can just sell those tokens and move to the next utility token before the liquidity gets dried out. They're not sustainable. For example, utility token Uniswap. Okay, its utility is an exchange, and it also offers staking. It gives you Uniswap tokens. If you stake Uniswap tokens, you get even more Uniswap tokens. And the only way to cash out is obviously you have to sell the Uni tokens. And then that's how you literally can accumulate more. And that's how inflation is being caused, and it's not sustainable. So utility tokens flunk the sustainability test. They have great utilities, however, their staking platforms usually cause trouble because it's just not sustainable. So yes, it scores great as far as attention, especially in the early stages, because they have a great utility that you can use. They can really bring in a lot of people quickly. That's the community part of it. That's great. And then also, as far as incentive, right? At the early stages, the incentives are great. There's still early stages, a lot of buyers, excitement, hype around it. But then if we look at sustainability part of it, we realize that eventually, once the hype dies out and once the initial selling starts of these staking rewards and our liquidity starts drying out, very quickly attention drops. Utility is not as attractive anymore. You know, the incentive is not there anymore, and then that's what causes, due to lack of sustainability, it crumbles. It might not happen right away, maybe after a week, maybe after months, but eventually that's the whole nature of things. So we looked at governance tokens, we looked at utility tokens. Now let's look at meme tokens. So meme tokens, based on those 4 categories that we just discussed. So if we start with the first one, with meme tokens, attention. That's what meme tokens are all about. They're all about attention. Most popular ones that we just had lately is just the weirdest things, like we say, like with a dog with head, or all types of frog tokens like Pepe, or dog tokens, or whatever may be, like a celebrity token, or anything that can bring attention, or that is just hype. It's just for the culture. Provided it just grabs your attention, you can roll with it and people run with it, and it's just there for a short period of time, just to grab your attention. Meme coins are known for that, and that's really what gets them going, gets them running. So that one, they really score high on that one. And if we look at incentive, what's the incentive really? Like with incentive, we mean what do you get back, right? Now that they have your attention, what's the incentive that makes you stay there? What keeps you there? Attention is to make you be part of it. But now that you're part of it, what's the incentive for you to stay? Or what makes you stay willingly? So because they're meme tokens, usually they don't have any incentive. They're not governance tokens. They don't give you a right to vote on the direction of the ecosystem. They're not utility tokens, like you can't borrow and lend. The tokens that you bought, you can't use them as collateral. You can't borrow against them. They don't have like a staking platform that you can just stake your tokens and receive incentives. As far as incentives, you really don't have, right? So let's move to the third one, community. That's something, right? So you're part of a community. You belong to a tribe. You belong to a community, to a movement. This meme speaks to you, right? It got your attention, and now you have a sense of belonging. Keep in mind, this is so psychological as well, because keep in mind, one of the Maslow's pyramid, right, of hierarchy is a sense of belonging. Us humans, we want to have that sense of belonging, right? You belong to a community. You belong somewhere, and you're important, right? So that is the biggest thing, the attention and the community. That's where community tokens, meme tokens, score the highest. But then again, same fate like governance tokens and utility tokens, meme tokens have as well, because they are so heavily relying on attention. We all know humans don't have the longest attention span, and then they're also reliant on the community. But the community, if you don't have incentives for them to remain, to stay there, and then the sustainability part of it also plays a major role. If the hype or the attention is not sustainable, incentives are non-existent, and the community is there and you have a sense of belonging. However, if you don't have incentives, the attention really starts to die out. What's next? We realize very, very quickly that meme tokens, or I should rather say community tokens, yes, the attention is very important. If it's there, great. It kicks off, it takes off very, very quickly. The incentives is not here, so it's all based on attention. So as long as attention is here, the hype is here, is good. And then the community, right, is quickly built. A lot of people rally behind it. It's hype, it's hot. And retailers are just here to, let's face it, they're here to make a quick buck. And they see the charts running, they see a few green candles. It's funny, it's nice, you belong to a community, the Telegram group is great, and be part of it. Now, sustainability. It might last weeks, months, but the moment the selling starts, that's when all the house of cards starts breaking, because now two things are lacking. We talked about two great things, attention and community. Great, amazing. But now incentives and sustainability, those are the two things that are not around, they're lacking, right? And once the selling starts, that's when the fun stops, right? Nobody likes to see red candles. And because it's not sustainable, meaning they are following the same structure as our current monetary system is following. What is that? Inflation, lack of liquidity, unsustainable mechanisms, and the loss of purchasing power. And the way you lose purchasing power is through printing more, minting more. So how is that happening? That usually happens if, like we said, the selling starts now and the mechanisms are not sustainable. So this quickly kills the vibe, and the hype dies down. So the attention incentive is not there anymore. The community effect is not here anymore, because now there's like camps starting to build. Diamond hands are fighting with sellers, calling them jeets, and you see camps starting to build, arguments start, and before you know it, the community is torn. That positivity is starting to die out, and before you know it, it's just no longer sustainable. Oftentimes also what you realize with meme tokens is always these headlines, and these headlines are always that an individual invested $50 within the first 10 minutes of the launch of a meme coin. 5 hours later, they have 50 million worth of tokens now in their wallets, right? These are things that really cause a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out, right? And these are the headlines you read on Cointelegraph or all these major crypto news outlets. And this, of course, brings a lot of attention to those specific coins. And because it's embraced with a lot of hype, and community builds relatively quickly. They are usually 50,000 or 100,000 very, very quickly. and that brings a lot of attention, brings a lot of awareness. They get listed really quickly. All of a sudden, before you know it, they're already on second tier exchanges, and it always happens so quickly. And unfortunately, just as fast as they picked up, usually within months, they slowly start to die out again. And it's in the nature of things, because if something is not built to be sustainable, which is the fourth criteria, it's really hard to maintain the attention of the community, because as humans, we don't have the longest attention span, to be honest. And if incentives are not there, the economy works on incentives. The better the incentives, you have us around. As long as there's incentives, especially sustainable incentives, we'll be around. But if the incentives are no longer sweet, no longer pleasing to us, or non-existing, we don't want to be part of it. Let's move to the next. And this is why you see so many meme coins being launched on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. It's just meme coin hopping. Hop from one to the next, and you hope you can get in really early and just be the first one to sell, because you know exactly how this game works. There's not enough liquidity, so get in fast, sell, be the first one to sell, get out, move to the next. Because retailers now understand those two things are lacking. There is no incentives, and it's not sustainable. We should know that by now. We've laid the foundation now and highlighted the three different types of tokens, right? We went through the governance tokens, we went through utility tokens, and now the meme tokens. So if we look at it in a general term, we identified that community tokens, they are literally the present and the future in the crypto space, and that they really bring a lot of attention to blockchains or ecosystems. They bring a lot of liquidity and volume to these blockchains or ecosystems. Two major things that we identified was, besides them bringing attention and belonging to a community, we identified that literally there's no incentives and it's not sustainable. Now that we've established that and looked at it from an industry level, it's time to now zoom in and look at it now on our ecosystem level. How does that affect us? How do we fare based on those four criteria? How does our ecosystem fare using these four criteria? So let's use these four criteria now in our Boron ecosystem. Let's start with attention. So if we kickstart with attention, your usual meme coin or your usual utility token grabs your attention. It's the trend. You're in on that joke. You're in on that movement that is current, or you're early user of that utility, be it a lending platform, a staking platform, and you get that high staking distributions very early on. So that attention is usually based on a specific utility or just specific meme, news, event, joke that is current. But the way we went about attention is completely different. Instead of bringing that attention at the very beginning, you actually have something known as delayed gratification, because you don't want to attract the wrong crowd. You don't want to attract the wrong individuals, because the ones that you attract, they're just there either to just get their airdrops or get their rewards really quickly and then start selling on everyone and move on to the next. Or once that joke is not funny anymore, you just early on in that joke, and all that, eventually you can't tell the same joke more than 3 times. It won't be funny anymore, right? The way attention is really got on crypto is very early, at the very beginning. The way we turned it around and our attention, the way we want to get it, is more based on fundamentals. Let's get into detail how our attention is going to be, because it will be tied on sustainability. So the way we are going about having attention is delayed gratification, because we focus so heavily on fundamentals. And what we mean with that is we aim to solve the 4 challenges in the industry. Those 4 challenges are lack of liquidity, inflation, unsustainable staking distributions, and inefficient use of volume. Because our ecosystem is literally developed to address those challenges, and we focus so heavily on fundamentals, these are delayed gratification, meaning that it will take adaptation, consistent volume, and time until things are in place. It's not based on just a specific time or period. But now, this delayed gratification and attention that we're bringing towards us is based on fundamentals. And these fundamentals, you'll be able to verify them. And this is how our attention will really shine and speak for itself. Because we focus on this, look at what we are going to have as a result. And you'll be able to verify this on Etherscan. We're going to have the deepest liquidity, because we are addressing liquidity. So we're going to have the deepest liquidity in the industry. And then, because we are challenging inflation, we have a solution for it. That means we'll have the most bonds in the industry, right? So it'll be the community that binds the most tokens. And then because we have a staking platform, of course, we'll have a lot of stakers. So our staking percentage will be extremely high, if not the highest. We realize that we'll have the most sustainable USDC distributions. And then finally, we'll also, because we're solving the challenge of inefficient use of volume, this will attract a lot of traders, a lot of whales, and this will bring even more volume. And this more volume will create that positive feedback loop. So before you know that, now you have a win-win situation, right? That positive feedback loop. You have deep liquidity. Deep liquidity attracts more traders. More traders brings more volume. More volume burns more tokens and accumulates more USDC distributions for the stakers. And these stakers are staking even more tokens because they want to get even more USDC distributions. They're buying more NFT boosters because they want to max out the USDC distributions. This revenue from the NFT boosters are being added to the liquidity. More liquidity, more traders, more volume, and you get the idea. So because we focus on that and we have that mechanism in place, that positive feedback loop, now you can verify our liquidity on Etherscan or on DEX2, however. You can verify our burning, now how much we're burning on Etherscan. You can verify how much incentives USDC we are issuing out for the stakers. And now you can also verify the staking percentage on there as well. And because of all these fundamentals, it obviously affects the price. And this is what gets everybody so excited about cryptocurrencies, because Bitcoin price goes up. Oh, Bitcoin is 60,000, 70,000, 80,000. But if you only focus on the price, but you don't focus on these 4 challenges in the space, you can't pass the test on these 4 criterias. Now that we've said all this, we can now go through the 4 criterias. The first one, like we said, attention. Now, our attention is not based on a meme, on a joke, on an animal, on a political agenda, on a celebrity, or whatever the case may be. But now it's based on literally fundamentals. The attention that we invoke on our community is, whoa, that's the community with the deepest liquidity. That's the community that burns the most tokens. That's the community that gives the most staking distributions and it's most sustainable. That's the community that has the only staking platform that is scarce. That's the community that has the largest whale community in the industry through Killer Whale. That's the community that empowers the women, the queens in the crypto industry. They have the largest women community in the space through Survivor. That's how we bring attention to us. Liquidity never grows old. Everybody loves liquidity. Incentives, staking distributions, USDC distribution never get old. We want all of it. Burning. Which community doesn't love burns? The more burns, the better. So it never gets old. So these are fundamentals that bring attention. And because we are so strong on these, eventually it will affect the price as well. So you realize that our attention is not based on hype, seasonal events, inside jokes, but is based on real problem solving. So the way we bring awareness and the way people will be attracted and gain attention on us is based on our fundamentals and is based on us solving those 4 challenges in the industry: liquidity, lack of it, inflation, unsustainable staking distributions, and efficient use of volume. That's how we bring attention to the masses. And that's permanent, that's sustainable, and that's incentive, and that builds community. Because like we said, there's 2 challenges that the current meme coins, current community tokens just are not addressing. If you focus on fundamentals, fundamentals will never get old. Fundamentals are not seasonal. Fundamentals are sustainable. But now it's not just one winner takes it all, but rather it is the community. The community benefits. Isn't that the whole purpose? Isn't that the whole idea of the crypto or the blockchain industry? So that we all can benefit. I want us to really understand that based on these 4 criteria that we were just highlighting today, if you use that as your blueprint and you go through these 3 different tokens that you can have, from governance tokens, utility tokens, meme tokens, and you apply these 4 criteria, again, attention, incentive, community, and then finally sustainability. Can you sustain these 3 items? Is it sustainable? Apply those 4 items to your favorite ecosystem, favorite token, and then based on what we've discussed today, check based on these 4 criteria whether they pass all 4 of them. So like we zoomed in and highlighted how our ecosystem fares based on these 4 criteria. Attention, we don't bring attention based on hype or meme or jokes, inside jokes, or seasonal events, but rather based on us solving those 4 challenges in the industry. If it comes to incentive, we have a utility, which is our staking platform. That is the only scarce staking platform, meaning that because we have a true band system, our supply shrinks. We started with 1 million in supply. There is no staking platform out here. I'm not just talking on Ethereum blockchain, anywhere else that is scarce. There is no other. Like we said, utility tokens, they have staking platforms and they're not scarce. They're actually bringing in more inflation. And then we looked at community. It will be so easy to form a community that rallies behind all of this, because humans, we always want to see. So those who wait until it's mainstream, and you just exit liquidity now. Those who got in early and understood, saw the vision before it even hit mainstream. That's the difference between successful people and those that really are just going with the crowd. And that's the majority. Majority will just go with the crowd. When it's mainstream now and you can verify that we have the deepest liquidity, burned the most, all of that, once now you can't deny it anymore. Delayed gratification are for those that are here for the long term. You want to be part of an ecosystem that is developed to be around for the longest, for the long term. Why? Because blockchain technology is not seasonal. It's here to stay. And the way this ecosystem is developed, the longer it's around, the better it gets. So this just shows you that our ecosystem works. It does what it needs to do. It passes with flying colors those 4 criteria, which is attention, incentive, community, and sustainability.